we're going to review properties of exponents. So our first problem says that we've got a squared times a to the third over a squared. So recognize first we've got multiplication across the top and multiplication across the bottom. We can approach this two ways. We can look at this as either add up your exponents and get a to the fifth over a squared, which then becomes a to the third, or any number divided by itself is 1, and that reduces to an a to the third. Both ways are mathematically correct, and both ways give you the same answer of a to the third. So our next issue, our next problem, is going to be a y to the negative 8 times y to the third squared. So my y to the third squared becomes y to the sixth. My y to the negative 8 can be written in the denominator as a y to the positive 8. And then finally that becomes a y to the negative 2, which we will then again rewrite as 1 over y squared. Okay? So our third example is 2u v to the negative 2. And I'm going to raise that to the negative 3 power. So the first thing I want to do is whatever I can do on the inside. So I'm going to rewrite that as a 2u over v squared. And I'm going to raise that to the negative 3 power. And now recognize that that negative 3 belongs to everything on the inside. So I'm going to tackle that negative first. So that becomes a v squared over a 2u to the positive 3. And now I can cube everything on the inside. So I'm going to get a v to the sixth over an 8u to the third. That is my final answer. We then have a w to the 0 power, x to the fifth, raised to the negative 2. So again, I'm going to do whatever I can on the inside first. Well, any number to the 0 power is 1. So I can rewrite this as an x to the fifth to the negative 2. Because 1 times x to the fifth is x to the fifth. Now I'm going to take care of that negative. So that gives me a 1 over x to the fifth squared. And now I'm going to distribute my power of 2. So 1 times 1 is 1. X to the fifth times x to the fifth is x to the 10th. Another example, I've got an x to the negative 3 over a y squared. And all of that is raised to the negative 5 power. So I'm going to do inside first. I'm going to rewrite that as a 1 over x to the third y squared raised to the negative 5th. Now I'm going to tackle the negative. So that gives me an x to the third y squared to the positive 5. And now I'm going to distribute my power of 5, which is going to give me an x to the 15th y to the 10th. That says 10. Okay. Final example is going to be 2h squared k raised to the 4th over a 7h to the negative 1 k squared squared. So order of operations says I can do grouping symbols first. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute this power of 4. So that's going to give me a 16 h to the 8th k to the 4th over, now I'm going to take care of this power right here. So I get a 7 k squared over h squared. So now I'm going to distribute that power. So I have a 16 h to the 8th k to the 4th over a 49 k to the 4th h squared. And now I have a fraction divided by a fraction. So I'm going to change that to multiplication by the reciprocal, which gives me an h squared over 49 k to the 4th. So what do I notice? I've got any number divided by itself is 1. I have a 16 h to the 10th over a 49. And if you hadn't noticed that yet, we could have written that as a 16 h to the 10th k to the 4th over a 49 k to the 4th, and then noticed it and still get the same answer.